Help me reach my goal and subscribe. And hit the bell icon.
Chapter 69:46. Charlie said calmly, "All right, stop flattering me. You're so smart, you can only know more and more than I thought. Telling you this is a bit of an amateur." He stretched and smiled. 3 years of book losses in the US market will count as experience points. You can have fun there these next 2 days. Bernard, reassured again, smiled and said, "Okay, Mr. Wade. I'll follow your instructions." Half an hour later, the White House press conference room was filled with reporters. Officials had announced to the world that this press conference would be used to make a statement regarding Blackwater and the Whitehorse Island incident. After Bernard's outburst, media attention reached an unprecedented level. The entire press conference hall was packed. The atmosphere was even more lively than a temple fair. Given the scale of the event, the normally confident young female spokesperson was surprisingly nervous before taking the stage. Given her usual style and mental fortitude, she would have remained calm even if she had been spouting lies that would have been despised by the entire world. In her own words, she was born tough and had always been tough. However, today's approach was a stark departure from her usual style. Today, she couldn't be tough. Instead, she had to admit her mistakes. On behalf of the government, she had to apologize to the world for the Blackwater incident. At the same time, she would announce a series of penalties imposed by the US on Blackwater. She felt deeply dissatisfied when she thought about breaking that tradition. Having never bowed her head or given in her career for so many years. But even though she was dissatisfied, there was nothing she could do. After all, to her, she was just a spokesperson. The attitude, wording, and perspective she needed to express in each speech were all set by her superiors. And she could only follow the rules. When the time came, she took a few deep breaths and walked into the hall. The moment she appeared, the flashbulbs of the media reporters flashed incessantly. And the sound of shutter clicks echoed throughout the hall. The spokesperson stepped up to the podium, adjusted his demeanor, and began. "Welcome, everyone, to today's press conference. Before we begin, on behalf of the US government, I would like to apologize to the tourists and staff implicated in the Whitehorse Island terrorist attack. We trusted the self-reported surrender of a Blackwater executive, believing it was his personal decision and unrelated to Blackwater, and thus delayed the investigation. Rest assured, we will conduct a comprehensive investigation into this incident." This immediate apology was both unexpected and understandable. The US government is under immense pressure, and failure to confront the problem will only exacerbate it. The spokesperson continued, "Beyond our apologies, we also wish to use this press conference to announce to the world that, at the High Official's request, the FBI has arrested all senior Blackwater executives. Once the investigation is complete, they will be brought to justice." The audience erupted in cheers. Everyone had already roughly understood the whole story. They knew that the Whitehorse Island terrorist attack was Blackwater's decision, and the government had no involvement. As long as it stopped shielding them and handled the matter impartially, everyone would be satisfied. This also meant that Bernard had single-handedly won the battle between himself and the government, further strengthening his global recognition. The spokesperson continued, "The FBI has seized Blackwater and suspended all operations. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have jointly established a special investigation team, which will conduct a comprehensive investigation. We have also frozen all of Blackwater's accounts and real estate in the country. After the investigation is completed, we will calculate the losses Blackwater caused by the Whitehorse Island incident and compensate the victims. The judicial system there has always imposed heavy penalties on companies involved. For example, the courts directly fined Tesla $243 million for the death and injury caused by its autopilot system. And the United Airlines violent incident, which Elaine had always hoped would happen to her, also resulted in tens of millions of dollars in compensation to the victims. Although all the casualties in the Whitehorse Island incident were Blackwater mercenaries, the island suffered enormous losses. Byrd was even shot in the leg. If the United States ceases to shield Blackwater and handles this terrorist attack impartially, then Blackwater will logically be held responsible for the hundreds of millions of dollars Byrd claimed to have spent on bribing the guy. The tens of millions of dollars in compensation for customers, and the operational impact of the dozens of deaths on Whitehorse Island. If the amount awarded is so substantial that Blackwater's cash balances are insufficient, they will be forced to auction off all their non-cash assets. This essentially means that Blackwater will be irreparably destroyed, both formally and financially. Chapter 69-47. The government's complete abandonment of Blackwater signaled to the world that Byrd had prevailed. His reputation was at its peak. He had many ardent fans, even some wealthy individuals, who idolized him. Then, unexpectedly, an online outcry erupted in support of Byrd. Unaware of the truth, the public naively assumed that Byrd's fight for justice would result in a significant loss in the local market. Unwilling to let down a hero, some people rushed to Byrd's U.S. stores, bought several items, and then posted photos on social media, captioning, "I want to do my part to uphold justice. If I can't confront the government head-on, I can at least offer my support to Byrd to the best of my ability." Unexpectedly, the post received a flood of likes and comments. Suddenly, a trend took hold online. Shopping at Byrd's brands became the most coveted and prestigious activity. This feeling is like the global frenzy surrounding Labubu, perhaps even more so. Labubu, a small, low-cost doll, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars because netizens worldwide see it as a symbol of the latest fashion trends. Owning one makes you the world's most fashionable person. So, even with a hefty price premium, people are willing to pay for it for the prestige and the perceived trendiness. Byrd's luxury goods are already renowned worldwide. Furthermore, all items in his stores are sold at full price, with no premiums. This is undoubtedly a far superior proposition to the exorbitant prices associated with a particular product. Consequently, all of his brand stores worldwide experienced an unprecedented consumer frenzy. The earliest customers flocked to the stores, snapping up the best and most popular items. Even when they needed to stock up, they happily accepted the offer. After all, while the stocking system can be tricky, it always comes at full price, ensuring that a 100 yuan item isn't sold for 1,000 yuan. After the popular items were sold out, even those styles that didn't require stocking, but were also slow to sell, were snapped up. Then, items that had been neglected for ages began to be bought up. Even those products that were so expensive, so abstract that even the mere thought of buying them was an insult to one's intelligence, they were snapped up one after another. Stores across America were running low on inventory. Some stores were completely sold out within an hour. Their entire storefront stock snapped up. Before midnight, all North American stores were sold out. Every store was left with bare shelves. And a group of employees who were once again filled with joy. For these employees, today had been a rollercoaster ride. Although they hadn't received 3 years' salary for free and would lose their sales commissions, they had achieved the same level of performance as they had in several months in previous years in just one night. And the commission income was already quite substantial. At the entrance of each store, there were many people who wanted to buy things, take photos, and check in. These people surrounded the doors and windows. And each of them used their own way to take advantage of the popularity of Bernard Ayres' lonely emergence. Bernard was stunned when he received the sales reports from the regional directors. Although he was a pioneer of hype marketing, he had long anticipated a surge in his retail store's performance. But he hadn't imagined it would be this dramatic. When reports of inventory shortages and even sellouts broke out around the world, he immediately called his assistant and instructed, "Immediately require all factories to work overtime, paying them the highest overtime pay permitted by local laws and regulations. The faster the better. Ensure that the entire supply chain and production chain restocks the global market within 5 days." Chapter 69:48. The assistant quickly replied, "Chairman, the supply chain isn't a major issue. The main issue is that our production capacity is severely limited. Many of our popular products are handmade by artisans, and we can't ramp up quickly. Furthermore, the number of inbound orders from stores is skyrocketing, and we won't be able to meet our production capacity for a long time." Bernard said, "That's easy. Immediately ship the raw materials for these popular products to China, and have our contract manufacturers there complete at least 90% of the production. Finally, bring the labeling and printing back to Paris. And we can legally add the Made in China designation. It's legally permitted to use the French logo." He couldn't help but mutter, "But the bags made by Chinese craftsmen are much better than those made by Parisian craftsmen. And their service life is at least doubled. We should remind the Chinese production side to lower their quality standards as much as possible. Otherwise, if we buy bags that don't break for 10 or 8 years, how can we sell them?" The assistant asked him nervously, "Chairman, isn't this inappropriate?" Bernard demanded angrily, "A 55 hole, do you need to judge whether it's appropriate? I'm the chairman. Do as I say. We've done this before." The assistant said awkwardly, "Chairman, you're a completely different person now. Your reputation is at its peak worldwide. If we create news that our group is profit-driven, it will have a huge impact on your reputation. You should be careful." Bernard suddenly woke up. "Yes? I'm a hero now. If I start selling OEM products now, and someone finds out, wouldn't all my super high reputation built up be ruined?" Thinking of this, he truly realized that he was no longer the same person he used to be. Now that he had a reputation, he couldn't do anything to make money like before. So, he thought for a moment and immediately said, "You're a good reminder. I really didn't think this through. How about this? Since we are short on stock right now, let's collaborate with other companies and do some joint ventures. Like with other clothing brands. That way, they'll come up with the joint designs and be responsible for production. We just need to authorize the use of the trademark and logo, and then be responsible for sales. This way, We don't have to produce anything. And we can quickly get a lot of joint products. We are sure to make money, and we won't be criticized. As long as we cooperate with enough joint companies. We'll soon be able to fill our stores with joint products. The assistant said in surprise. Chairman, you're a real business genius. Then I'll immediately contact all the luxury brands, as well as those lifestyle brands, and we'll push this forward as soon as possible. Chapter 69-49. Bernard's business acumen puts even Charlie to shame. His lifelong focus is on how to make more money. This results in a formidable financial mindset. Collaborations have long been a staple in the luxury and fashion industries. A few years ago, LV collaborated with the trendy brand Supreme. At the time, a simple short-sleeved t-shirt, incorporating both brands' logos, fetched a 5-figure price tag. After a wave of hype from retail investors, the price even doubled. Even in the digital world, collaborations are common. With some computer and hardware brands are collaborating with well-known game brands to further boost sales. For consumers, these collaborations offer excellent value, as they only need to purchase one product and receive the support of 2 brands, naturally resulting in a better deal. For Bernard, collaborations are generally frowned upon. Most brands aren't as well known as his. And collaborating with lesser-known brands would simply be allowing others to take advantage of him. But the situation is different now. Their production capacity is severely limited. And consumers are eagerly waiting to buy their products. Their supply chain, after years of refinement, perfectly matches their previous needs in terms of production costs, efficiency, and quality. But they never imagined sales would skyrocket dozens of times, surpassing their previous month's sales in a single day. Even if they were asked to increase production capacity now, they'd only be able to increase it by 30% at best, which wouldn't be enough to meet current demand. Bernard is well aware that public enthusiasm, like the rising tide, ebbs and flows. If they can fully satisfy their purchasing needs before enthusiasm fades, they can maximize their profits. However, if their supply chain falters, they'll miss out on this golden opportunity once enthusiasm fades. Collaboration offers a perfect solution. By outsourcing production to other companies, they are effectively creating numerous production lines and supply chains, solving all problems. Furthermore, with his current fame at its peak, people eagerly sought his products. This naturally squeezed the market share of other brands, causing them to slump. Many brands saw sales plummet by over 80% compared to previous years. Collaborating with Bernard's brands at this time would effectively fill their own excess production capacity and generate additional revenue. Consequently, almost all major brands that received invitations to collaborate immediately accepted the proposals. Immediately, their designers, having secured authorization, began designing collaborative products utilizing classic elements from Bernard's brands. Bernard was thrilled. He had calculated that if this hype continued for a month, he could potentially recoup his 3-year nominal losses in the American market. If the spillover effects from the American market were factored in, he could potentially reap even higher profits. Meaning not only would he not lose a cent, but he could even earn billions more annually. He thought to himself excitedly, "This is the true meaning of fame and fortune. And this kind of fame is something I never dared to hope for in my entire life." This also made him feel grateful to Charlie. Then, he fulfilled his promise to Charlie. Not only donating $2 billion to the Cataclysmic Front, but also spending hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase the 99-year use rights of an island from Sri Lanka and transfer it to the Cataclysmic Front. This island is located near the international shipping routes in the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka is a must-visit for shipping from East Asia to the Middle East, Europe, and Africa. Cataclysmic Front currently derives half of its revenue from ocean escort missions. With the Maldives island already in place, adding this Sri Lankan island would make escort work even more time-efficient and effective. Chapter 6950. Bernard called Charlie specifically to tell him about the island, adding, "I'm sorry, Mr. Wade. I acted without your permission and therefore apologize." Although the island was only worth $200 or $300 million, Charlie saw through Bernard's attitude from this incident. He had long seen through Bernard. Although this guy was wealthy, he was also a stingy person. If an item cost $199, it was $199. He couldn't just give him 200 yuan and not give him the change. This would make him feel bad for a long time, and was absolutely unacceptable. This old nobleman, like Grandit, usually wouldn't pay a penny more than the agreed price. But this time, he actually took the initiative to give an island on top of the agreed price. This shows that he has made some progress. To use a saying, he has finally made it. So, Charlie affirmed his approach and said with a smile, "Mr. Arno is thoughtful. I thank you on behalf of Cataclysmic Front." Bernard quickly said, "Mr. Wade, you're welcome. This is just a small token of my appreciation." After that, he quickly said to Charlie, "By the way, Mr. Wade, Mr. Hamid, who was almost assassinated, should have a good relationship with you, right?" Charlie smiled. "Hamid and I have a good relationship. What's wrong?" Bernard immediately said, "Mr. Wade, I personally feel that Mr. Hamid's situation in Syria should be quite dangerous. Since he is your friend, I would like to take out $200 million as a small token of appreciation. I hope you can pass it on to him and help him consolidate his foundation in Syria." Charlie said in surprise, "Why does Mr. Arno suddenly want to sponsor Hamid?" Bernard said with a smile, "Oh, Mr. Wade, to be honest, this is a small token of my appreciation. I hope Mr. Hamid can further improve his own strength and try not to worry you." "Very good," Charlie praised. "I really didn't expect you to have such a heart." Hamid is now trying to form alliances, and he will inevitably have to spend money to win over some warlords. This money can just help him. I thank you on his behalf." Bernard said excitedly, "Mr. Wade, you are too polite. I am already very satisfied to share your worries to the best of my ability. After all, you have helped me so much." Charlie smiled and said, "No need to be polite. I will say hello to Hamid later and tell him the news." "Okay, Mr. Wade." Bernard quickly added, "If $200 million is not enough, please let me know at any time, and I can add more." Charlie teased him, "Mr. Arno, I have to remind you that Syria is unlikely to become a market for luxury consumption. You have invested so much in Hamid, and you may not have the chance to make it back." Bernard quickly said, "Mr. Wade, you misunderstood me. I'm not doing this for money. I simply want to share some of your burden. The situation in Syria, thanks to Hamid's narrow escape and Blackwater's island platform, has reached a delicate equilibrium. The opposition leaders who advocated for Hamid's elimination have faced international condemnation after their failed plan became public, leading to widespread condemnation. While they may disregard their international reputation, their internal authority has been significantly impacted.